do we want to look at patch notes first or get CarQ's video first? Because I feel like CarQ's video is patch notes, but in a cooler form. The CarQ video sells the impact. Oh, I mean, CarQ's amazing at this. He just opens with the brig change. He knows. He knows.
Huh? This is the brig rework? Oh my, what is this, 2018? Welcome to season 4.
Okay, wait. Her bash does not have that low of a cooldown in ult, right? He's doing this for testing, right?
Huh?
It doesn't. It's 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I was like, no. He know he's baiting, dude. He's baiting.
Welcome.
Had the AoE cleave on it is so insane, by the way.
Huh?
You shield bash 2 times per ult. Yeah, so
This is the brig rework?
it's mostly about the cleave, though. It's not the cleave is the big
Why,
one.
what is this, 2018?
That's all I'm thinking for 8
Welcome
months.
to season 4. Here we go.
Just presenting it like that is such good bait.
Let's begin with Reinhardt. His HP is decreased from 625 to 600. More specifically, his armor is being decreased from 300 to 250, but his white health is being increased from 175 to 200. Here's what the
Well, the
300
so it's actually more than just 625 to 600 though, because there's, you know,
to 250,
less armor.
but
Turn on subtitles. Oh yeah, I got you.
his white health is being increased from 175 to 200. Here's what the devs have to say about Ryan. He's been overperforming after the recent increases to his offensive capabilities. Those changes have been playing well, so to adjust his overall power, we're reducing his overall health through this armor reduction. I think this change is acceptable.
That's fair. I can kind of see it. I saw a lot of and I think there's something that's interesting about a lot of the specific characters in Overwatch where, and I hope Blizzard realizes this, that he's not overperforming. Blizzard is dumb. Bro, he is really good. I don't pay attention to like competitive teams, and I haven't played that much Overwatch this season compared to other seasons. But even at the very beginning, legitimately first week, I think it was me, Flats, Emong, Marbler. We're all talking about, the best possible tanks. And I think we all put Ryan in S tier immediately. And that was before we had like data on anything that the developers probably have with like, oh yeah, this guy's win rate is nuts and out of control and stuff like that. The big thing though, and I hope that they realize this, is certain characters being meta in Overwatch makes the game more fun. And it's like a complicated topic to talk about, but there are certain characters that when people think they are super meta, they simply have more fun playing against those characters than other ones. So examples of that are Reinhardt. I don't know. Typically, Ryan being meta is generally everyone's okay with it. But if something like Hog is super meta, then people get really annoyed at it because playing against a Road Hog is much more annoying than playing against a Reinhardt most of the time. Fun varies from person to person. That is definitely true, but I think you would be kind of coping if you don't think there's a pattern to stuff like that. Where, if you walk into a really Doomfist-centric meta, that most people will not have as much fun as a Winston meta. And sure, there are some people who really enjoy like Doomfist metas over Winston metas and so on. But in general, I would say that more people have fun in metas that are Rhine, Winston, and stuff like that. And so when they do these types of tweaks, I hope that they are also thinking about that in the back of their mind of why are these characters so much more fun to play against than others, and they try and take that into account, not just on the balance level, because I heard this one remark from a developer from a different game a long time ago, something along the lines of like, the goal of balance isn't actually to get stuff balanced, is actually to make things fun. And so I always thought that was a really interesting way to talk about stuff, because when I think of balance in other games a lot of the time, it's so specific game to game, right? As an example, you don't go into Counter-Strike and you're like, guys, pistols are underpowered in Counter-Strike. We just need to buff pistols. They just don't get used enough. It'd be kind of weird. And in the same way, we don't really have that type of specific archetype in Overwatch, but I think if there's trends of people really enjoying it, that, we'll see what happens. It'd be very balanced, but not fun. Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. And that they need to find the reasons why characters like Ryan, Winston, and so on are really fun to play against and with an Overwatch in comparison to characters like Hog, Doom, and sometimes Ball even.
acceptable. I mean,
and lean into that.
Weaver's in the game now, and he can save the Ryan if he goes in too deep. So I'm curious to see how this plays out, but I have no qualms.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about Life Weaver yet. I haven't even thought about. Karku just mentioned it. Life Weaver can now save your teammates or troll. I mean, I can't wait to get trolled as Ryan when like you see a shatter, and then your Life Weaver just pulls you.
For Sigma, the total direct damage of accretion is being reduced from 100 to 80. He's losing 20 damage on the direct impact from 60 to 40.
So he can't one-shot combo you, right?
This is impactful because it messes up his one-shot burst combo against 200 HP targets. They will now live
with 1 HP, but it's actually still huge. They've talked about it before, I think, that Sigma in top 500 actually has a really, really good win rate. And I think that's probably because most people play Sigma on Sigma maps. But removing that one-shot combo is actually kind of nice. Sigma's always in this really weird spot as a character. He just does so much damage. It's so insane.
To compensate, though, the stun is increased from 0.8 to 1.1 second. The dev comments are, like Roadhog's chain hook, Sigma's accretion and primary fire combo can be highly lethal and can feel like a guaranteed kill against 200 health targets.
Like a guaranteed kill? It is a guaranteed kill. If you're a 200 HP target in front of a Sigma and you get rocked, you are dead.
Reducing the damage slightly to require an additional volley of primary fire, but are also increasing the stun duration to provide allies with more opportunity to follow up on successful impacts.
This is cool. The other thing too is it just means that the new combo is that the Sigma will want to be like on you. So if you're pushing the Sigma, then he can still one combo you because he can punch you, right? Sigmas are just going to shoot you once before throwing the rock at you. Well, it's not just about that. Usually the specifics here are like you're getting healed and there wouldn't be enough time for like the rock combo for you to get healed in between the hits before you die. It's about bursts, right? Kind of interesting that they're giving a like compensation buff of more CC a little bit, but it's also such a small amount. But basically what they're trying to say is if someone is with the Sigma and they shoot you, you're still going to die. If you are point blank on the Sigma, he can punch you and finish you off, but he can't just mid-range one combo you by himself if you're being actively healed, which I think is fair.
Pretty much what I said before. Ever since Ashe was released like over 5 years ago, she's always been able to get ultimate charge even while Bob is active, and this is footage from the pre-patch. You can see 23%, 31% ult charge while Bob is shooting. It's kind of what makes her good. But now they're fixing a bug, so this isn't actually marked as a balance change. This is a bug fix where she's no longer able to gain ult charge. So now I'm at 0% at the end of Bob compared to the pre-patch where I was literally at 30% after Bob. This is a giga nerf. My take is that if you're going to fix this as a bug, you got to do it for the other heroes, like for Wrecking Ball as well.
Yeah, well, I know he's about to dive into the other heroes thing. I was actually going to say, are they giving a compensation buff? In comparison, like they just turned around and said, Sigma, we took away your one shot, but we're giving you more stun duration. And now we're going, Ashe, we're effectively making it so you now build your ult 20% slower or so. Maybe we should make your ult build faster. But I guess they're not doing that. And it's kind of surprising. Like, why? Because Ashe is a character that I would consider to be very balanced. I don't think anyone walks into this season or last season going, Ashe is insane or overpowered. Ashe is pretty fair across the board. Like, if you played against Ashe this season, you were just happy because it meant that you weren't playing its Cass.
Also gained ult charge after his mines are out. All right, for Cassidy, his HP is being brought back down from 225 to 200.
Oh, no.
Additionally, the mag grenade damage is being reduced from 131 to 120.
So he can't one-shot body shot you?
Which means you survive a...
Oh, no. This is actually a huge nerf. I don't think I would actually... This is bad.
A follow-up body shot because it changes the breakpoint. The devs said that mag grenade only requiring one additional primary fire shot after sticking to a target was too reliable to execute on, even though it only works at close range. We are reducing the total damage on magnetic.
Okay. Before he jumps in the reducing total damage, the interesting thing about that is, if you guys remember old Flashbang, I guess technically you needed another body shot, I guess.
grenade evenly split
technically,
between the direct
although they would
target
just
damage
two-tap
and
you
explosion.
with
The
headshot,
reduced
right?
fall-off damage buff his primary fire received recently enables Cassidy to play from safer engagement ranges now, so we're reducing his health back to 200.
So they're arguing it was too easy and he was too tanky because he could play mid-range. Then when he dove him, yeah, okay, I get it. So they want to give Cass a little bit more range, so they take away his health. But wasn't the whole point of Cass in a lot of ways to be the anti-dive hit scan? That's why they gave Cass like the role. And then he was supposed to get the 225 HP. And that's why he also has damage reduction on high noon, so that we can kind of high noon laugh at people who kind of dive at him in certain situations. That's why his grenade was so easy, was because you didn't want to get close to him. It sounds like his hitbox is still giants. But Cass, yeah, Cass does have a giant hitbox. You are right. I don't think they want to make characters fit into niches. Well, that's how hit scan works though, right? Like you have, you know, Widow cross map, and then I don't know where Sojourn go, but back in the day, you know, it used to be like Cass was close, Soldier was consistent but mid, then you had Ashe at mid to long, then you had Widow at long, you know, and it had like a pretty very clear areas where stuff played out. And then they were like, all right, Sojourn, you kind of work everywhere because we're going to give you basically no fall off on a one tap right click. So you're kind of like a sniper archetype, but also really good. And then they had to nerf her a bunch to make her, you know, normal. Then they took Cass and they put him in the longer range category, but like a thick boy tank. So they have to tone that down. And everything's kind of weird now, which is fine. But it is interesting that they're basically deciding that, you know, they don't want it. They're like, no, we don't want him to be that tanky, I guess. It doesn't feel like he has the anti-dive archetype in my head that he used to, I guess.
Cass was considered one of the top DPS hit scan choices after that fall off range buff in mid season 3, so I'm okay with these changes. I still think Mag Grenade's kind of a BS ability, but it is what it is. Hopefully that whole thing gets reworked eventually. Let's move on.
Oh, CarQ says he hopes that whole thing gets reworked eventually. I actually had basically no problems with flashbang, so I actually kind of enjoyed the whole flashbang right click and how cheesy it was and ridiculous, and because it felt to me that was the character. I don't know if I would want to redo Magnetic Grenade. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'm not sure. I sent you something for Ashe, says Flats. Oh no, what'd you send me? Wait, what? Ashe fixed a bug where Ashe was not gaining ultimate charge while Bob existed. 2019? Fixed a bug that allowed Ashe to gain ultimate while Bob was active. 2023. I mean, okay, you guys can't see it. Sorry, it was behind my webcam. You get, dude. You know, it is actually a little bit funny because this just kind of tells you how much the developer team has changed over the years. It's funny, and it is absolutely funny, but it also tells you just how many new developers I think there are over the years, specifically on the Overwatch team. They've really picked up a lot. What does 18.6 mean? Fake? Classic American education. All right, let's go back.
Sombra's EMP can now disable Blizzard. It completely wipes it out. Now, in this footage, this visual, I'm still getting frozen by it because this test build doesn't have it implemented, but it will be live in that Season 4 patch on April 11th. I just need something to play in the background. The devs comment that we're
I just need something to play in the background.
Anyway, Sombra's EMP turns off to keep it consistent with how it affects other device-controlled ultimates.
Sombra is just the anti-ultimate character, huh? They also made it so Orisa ult last patch, I think, and now gets canceled by Sombra. It's like Orisa can be seen there channeling, like twirling her spear, and then a Sombra walks up, hacks her even through the shift, and it cancels her ultimate, right? So Sombra goes through a lot of stuff.
For Ana, her sleep dart's getting a nerf where its maximum duration is being reduced on tanks only from 5 to 3.5 seconds.
Interesting.
Where its maximum duration
only on tanks.
Ultimates. For Ana, her sleep dart's getting a nerf where its maximum duration is being reduced on tanks only from 5 to 3.5 seconds.
This is a ball buff. It is absolutely a ball buff. I can see why they're worried about stuff like that, because I mean, okay, if we think about some of the other changes they've made from CC onto tanks recently and Overwatch 2, I guess the other one would be Lucio Boop, It just doesn't even work against tanks anymore. They just kind of laugh at you. So I can kind of see them just being in the same theme of that, right? Being like, hey, there's only one tank now. We had to reduce the boops and some other CC. I feel like maybe we should also reduce the Ana one. Okay. Especially because tanks are so easy to hit. They have big hitboxes.
The devs comment that we've been watching how effective Sleep Dart has been in 5v5 gameplay. It hasn't been overly disruptive as a whole, but since it is significantly more reliable to land against tank heroes due to their large hitboxes, and even more valuable to do so with only one tank on the field, we're reducing its maximum duration against those targets. As a totally not biased Ana main, I'm a little sad that this is the case, but I understand their reasoning. They're staying aligned with the whole idea of tanks feeling tanky or wanting them to feel tanky.
Yeah, Karki's on the same page as me.
Tank passive, and now CC reduction against Sleep Dart. But if they're gonna do this for Ana, they should probably reduce stuns by like 20% on.
Yeah, that's what I'm surprised about. Why do it to Ana specifically and not just implement it into the existing passive where all CC onto tanks is reduced by like 20% or something, including boops and stuns?
Other heroes as well, like if a Sigma rocks another tank, they should be stunned for less, javelin, doom punched, etc., etc.
I guess they don't want to do that because it would impact so many tank matchups simultaneously and so many things that they're like, this is the only one individual exception. Let's just get this out for now, and maybe we look at that in the future, right?
Pack range is being reduced from 30 meters to 25 meters. As you can see, I'm standing around the same distance, but I can't pack the training bot from here. Now onto Rally, her ultimate.
I'm not sure why they nerfed the health pack range on Brig. That seems very specific. Maybe just to make it so you can't heal your diving players across the map as easily.
And this is what it looked like before. You know it, you love it. But this is what the reworked Rally looks like. Yeah. First of all, that shield fattens up and goes from 300 to 750 HP. She now gains 100 restorable armor health pool for the duration of Rally, which means if you get shot and you get healed, you have like 300 base HP now.
Yeah, so you can get healed back to 300.
100 extra armor. That does mean she no longer gradually builds that green temporary health like her allies, which, by the way, it still works for the allies. It's just herself that gets that 100 armor instantly. The biggest change is that shield bash.
Oh god, dude, the AoE stun. The AoE stun is the only thing I don't like. Okay, this is it. This is it. This is the one thing. I'm okay making Brig a little bit of a tank in Rally. We always joke that Brig became the second tank when she popped Rally. Giving her shield and making it so that she's actually fits the theme a little better. Okay, sure, why not? AoE stun? Why'd you have to do that? Why you gotta do this for me?
Can impact multiple enemies now.
It's like an empowered Doomfist punch, right? Where you can punch multiple people at once. It feels like the same thing.
And it briefly stuns them. It's like we're back in 2018 from OG Brig. This is insane because you can now stun Ryan through his shield and set up like a bash shatter, or you can stun Diva's bomb, for example, to stop it in its tracks. This is crazy. The only slight nerf is that her bonus movement speed she gets while
she can't chase you down as much.
Rally is being reduced from 30 to 15%, but overall this is still a ginormous net buff. The developer comments that Rally lost some of its power with the change from granting allies additional armor to temporary health. They mean that in Overwatch too. And overall took a relatively long time to build up its defensive benefits. This rework is intended to keep it as a defensive ultimate, but with a more immediate impact due to gaining an increased armor health pool up front and the enhanced barrier, which can be utilized to block for teammates while their temporary health builds or to interrupt enemies with the stun.
See, the interesting part about this, I think, is not necessarily the stun by itself, or the fact that it's like a big shield and people get spooked because they see a shield and then they get they're like, I remember this. Oh god, it's two shields. You know, they're like, ah. But I think it's the immediate you pop Q and you can get an instant stun and instant start steamrolling, or the instant 100 HP. That will actually be the really, really interesting part about this, because it allows you to do swing plays where, like, the same situation when they buffed Nano Boost back in the day, where getting an on a Nano Boost didn't used to heal you, but now it heals you to full, and you can kind of instantly turn a fight. She kind of has that same immediate 100 armor on herself. It's like, oh, I'm getting dove. Immediately pop the Q, get plus 100 armor, and you turn the fight instantly instead of popping like a rally type of thing, like Ramatra. Yeah. Nano heals 300. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously the numbers are different. We're talking about the concept, chat, right? The possibility of like immediately I push the button, I'm gonna get insta heal, I'm gonna swing the fight, right? That's what we're talking about. And giving her that is more playmaking ability rather than the ability before where it was like it felt kind of weird to use rally, where you would be wanting to use it in the middle of a fight, but if you used it too late, then it was actually useless. You wanted to use it as you were running in, but if you used it too early running in, then the enemy team just left and laughed at you, right? But now this gives her the option to be, you know, in, and then immediately just be like, boom, use it reactively, aggressively for plus 100 HP holding WU. And it fits the design a lot better, I think, of that type of character. And I like the idea a lot. The only thing I dislike about it is the fact that, you know, in Overwatch 2, we decided that we want to get rid of a lot of stuns. We decided we're going to remove Brig stuns and all this other stuff. I'm okay putting the stun back in. I just don't think it should AoE cleave. That's my personal limit on it. A lot of people just... And also, people are also going to treat this from a meta POV, which we could talk about all day. You know, people are probably going to be like, why does Brigitte need a buff? She's already really good. Right? And that's definitely true. It should also not go through shields. Yeah, I mean, you could argue stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff you could argue, like individual things. I just don't like the situation of, you know, immediately just a Brig kind of instantaneously pushes Q and like bashes and AoE stuns me by accident. I don't like that feeling, that it wasn't intentional. Because it's like they're going for someone else, but the hitbox is so big it hits multiple people. That's the only thing I don't like. I just don't like that feeling. But as for, you know, meta stuff, or like, is it going to be overpowered or this or that? Yeah, I mean, Brigitte's been pretty good. I think this fits her character a lot better as an ultimate because it gives her ability to make more reactive plays. Also, she still has the team utility of healing her teammates and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be cool. I do like the design. The only wish I had for Brigitte personally was that they adjusted her UI a little better, because I still think one of the biggest parts about Brigitte is you actually can't tell when your Inspire is up, and it doesn't directly show in your UI, which has been a pet peeve of mine for years now. There's something very strange that, like, imagine if you were playing Mercy or Zenyatta, but you did not see a heal UI, and you did not see, like, your orb UI. But that's Brigitte, right? Because you don't see Inspire. It just is like this tiny glow. It's very weird. So I wish they changed that at some point too.
The training
but otherwise, I mean, I'm cool with the ult. Like, I think the ult's cool. I like the idea of having a reactive playmaking ult because I feel like it does fit Brig better as a character. Although the meta and the balance and everything else could be a nightmare. We'll just have to wait and see on that one.
For Mercy, her healing per second is going to be increased from 45 to 55. That's nice. However, the healing is no longer increased for allies under half health.
Thank goodness. This was so ridiculously bad. I hated this. I really, really hated this. Because it was invisible. You would actually... It would bait you into thinking you could kill people, and then they get to 50%, and unless you were somebody who actively watched patch notes and paid attention to the game, you could log on that day and just be like, why is this person not dying? You'd be like, what the hell is going on here? And then you're like, huh? Where's that clip? Does anyone have the Genji clip that people were laughing at a while back where, with the because of the 50%? It was actually on Samito's Twitter. It's where I saw it, wasn't it? Where was this, Samito? Where was it? Bro, you tweet so much, Samito. Where was this? Does anyone remember what I'm talking about when it was specifically this? Wait, I found it. Someone posted it. This was an example of how insane just the base 50% could be, of how hilarious it was. This interaction is really healthy for the game. Genji. Good old Genji, chat.
My bad! I misplayed! I should have played that better. My bad, man.
Okay, the funniest thing about this, by the way, when you think about this, okay, deflects the sleep dart, sets up the combo, goes for it, can't even finish off the Ana. Maybe you could kill the Ana if maybe your ping or like was a little bit better or something, I don't know. But then right here, even with the last swing, can't kill the Ana. And the reason for this is because, do note, the Mercy in this clip does not have Valkyrie on. She does not have her ultimate on. This is base Mercy healing with the Ana grenade when under 50% is obscene. And so because of that, it's insane HPS. So even like a Genji Dragon Blade, after deflecting a sleep dart and getting the combo off and doing everything, you cannot kill that target. It's crazy. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. Ana would not die during Blade. It is mathematically impossible. Yeah, like he could sit there and hit the Ana the entire time. It would be way too much. And a large part of that is because Mercy had when you're less than 50% healing, the healing goes up so high, plus the Ana nade would stack with it. And so because of that, it was just insane. But I'm very happy they're changing this, so that way it's more consistent. I think consistency when healing in order to make plays, particularly for newer players and for people who don't pay like a super strong attention to the game, is really, really important.
For Guardian Angel, the cooldown is being reduced from 2.5 to 1.5 seconds. That's really good. That's the
Okay, wait. Also, before we get too far into this, cooldown reduced 2.5 to 1.5 seconds. So this is the old GA, but how funny is it that they're changing Mercy Shift again? That they're constantly doing. Why do they play with Mercy every patch? These poor Mercy players are just like, oh.
Old Mercy. The jump and crouch cancel active ability state duration is being increased from 1 to 1.5 seconds. Sounds like a mouthful, but it's a nerf to both the jump, which is a slingshot, and the crouch state, which is a super jump, which basically means it won't go on cooldown until after that 1.5 second timer, and you can no longer manually interrupt it to begin the cooldown early.
Okay, so they're talking about cooldowns. So basically, they nerf the cooldown here. So that way it's a 1.5 second cooldown just doing a normal shift your teammate. But if you're doing a crouch or a slingshot, then it's 2 seconds?
To 1.5
or 3 seconds.
That's really good. That's the old Mercy. The jump and crouch cancel
1.0, 1.5. No, because it's 1.5 total. So it'll be 3. Yeah, it'll be 3. So if you're doing... So in other words, if you're shifting to a teammate, it'll be 2. If you're doing a slingshot, it'll be 3. But no one just does a basic thing, so it's realistically 3, is it not?
From 1 to 1.5 seconds. Sounds like a mouthful, but it's a nerf to both the jump, which is a slingshot, and the crouch state, which is a super jump, which basically...
Also, just this is some hard min-maxing on Mercy. You need a degree in Mercyology to decode these. Yeah, I'm like, bro, it's very funny because at the same time, I wonder... Chad, do you think that like your average player would ever put this interaction together? Your average Mercy player who logs on is like, oh yeah, I can crouch, I go in the air, or I can push space, I go flying, and they figure that out. Do you think they're going to notice that like the cooldown doesn't go down for 1.5 seconds if they use those, but if they don't, then it's like 1.5 seconds short? It's like, why do this?
On cooldown,
it's very funny.
After that 1.5 second timer, and you can no longer manually interrupt it to begin the cooldown early. And a small buff to her ult, the support role passive healing is now active for the duration of Valkyrie.
That is not a small buff. That is old Valkyrie a little bit, isn't it? Not as insane, but Valkyrie was very easy to kill this season because she did not have passive regen while flying around. This is actually a pretty decent buff when combined. She still has her sight. I'm gonna keep going. I think she still has her I self-heal based on my healing, right? So it's combined. She has self-healing while healing other people plus the support passive, so she will just be insanely difficult to stop. I think so. She still has that. Okay, cool. To be fair, it is a little bit weird. Support role passive healing is now active for Valkyrie's duration. Before she didn't have it at all, which was weird. But now she just has perma regen during Valkyrie, which is okay. So this is another kind of invisible thing, I guess, where, you know, she's just going to be regenerating health the whole time, and if she's healing other people, then she's effectively unkillable, right?
And a small buff to her ult, the support role passive healing is now active for the duration of Valkyrie. The devs have a lot of comments here.
Oh boy.
Recent increase to Guardian Angel's jump cancel mobility, aka the super jump, still needs to be kept in check, such as not being ready to use GA again after flying in and using Resurrect. This revision provides more flexibility and allows Mercy to opt into an additional 1.5 second cooldown when using the increased mobility from the jump crouch cancel options or otherwise waiting for the base cooldown time. The increased healing multiplier condition.
Okay, wait, go back. There's something funny about the unintended effects, such as not being able to GA instantly after flying and using res. I find that interesting, that because that is also the most basic way you could think of to play Mercy. And it's kind of like they're thinking of the average Mercy player on like a console who's maybe like bronze or something, be like, I res my teammate, and they like shift to the teammate, they're like, I'm resing, and then they try and shift away and go, why am I dead? I can't shift again. That's the exact interaction they're trying to fix.
Or otherwise waiting for the base cooldown time. The increased healing multiplier condition on Caduceus staff was intended to help Mercy players feel more agency in trying to save critical health allies and to add depth to the healing mechanic.
I find this interesting, by the way, still. Add depth to the healing mechanic. I don't know if you guys have noticed, they've tried this with many characters now in Overwatch 2 in particular, on supports, I think, where they look at stuff and they go, yeah, we need to add more depth specifically to this. Like Moira. Yeah, Moira in particular was the orb that just turned off your character. I forget what the name was. It wasn't biotic orb. It wasn't like a chaos orb. It was something weird, but it turned off your character. Enfeebling orb, enfeebling orb, necrotic orb, something like that, where it'd make you do 50% less damage for 4 seconds. They said, we want to give you more playmaking abilities as Moira. And a lot of the time I look at Moira and I go, isn't that kind of weird? Because the playmaking ability as Mercy is your ability to go and think about, movement and positioning with regards to going for a res. That's my opinion as a player of Mercy's idea of a play is, can I sneak this res and get out? And it actually manage to stay alive? Or can I hit like a nice little bounce to go somewhere and like res behind cover in a really smooth way? And then the developer's idea, though, was how do I save a critical health ally? Like somebody's low HP and I fly to them and I try and immediately save them. And I guess I find it interesting they're trying to add that depth everywhere they can. Even to characters that I would consider to be very noob friendly. Like Mercy, right? Or Moira in the old Moira case.
The total time to heal to full health. However, the overall rebalance of the healing values received significant negative feedback, both from those playing as Mercy and those playing against it.
Yeah,
I agree. There wasn't a satisfying middle ground where we could reduce the potency of this effect while still having it feel impactful, so we're reverting it.
It's interesting because it's negative feedback both from the Mercy players and those playing against it, because I'm trying to remember some of the immediate Mercy feedback from Mercy players was something like, why do anything? They could just damage amp even more than heal under 50% and repeat to go back to full. I'm trying to remember. I barely remember what the good Mercy players talking about with stuff like that. So nice fish. The fish.
Certainly frustrating to play and fight against someone who was getting pocketed by Mercy when they were under half health, so I'm happy that change got reverted. However, I actually think not being able to cancel your GA or super jump early to start the cooldown faster is actually going to affect her for both the fluidity, and it'll probably feel clunky, to be honest with you. I kind of feel bad for Mercy players. She gets changed every single patch.
Yes, she does, and I personally don't even know all the changes and the nuance. It's absurd at this point.
For Moira, the lingering heal duration is increasing from 2 to 3 seconds.
Buffing healing Moiras in my video game?
That's a buff. Her Fade can actually now be activated during Coalescence.
But why? Okay. When I first saw this, and I saw it can now be activated during Coalescence, I thought that it would mean that you cancel your ultimate.
3 seconds, that's a buff. Her Fade can actually now...
But instead, it's a situation where if I get Ana purpled in the enemy backline, I can, and I'm Moira flanking the enemy Ana and she purples me and hits a shot, I can just shift off and I can go back to regenning.
Now be activated.
Because this is one of the situations where, like, during Coalescence, Moira was killable if you had the right
that's a significant
abilities, or if you had insane aim.
Compensate, though, Coalescence bonus movement.
It's the same thing as Hog being able to hook or heal during the ultimate. Yeah, you're right, actually. It really is. But I don't understand. I mean, do we really want to buff? Oh, this is an interesting nerf, though. Bonus move speed reduced from 50 to 40.
Movement speed is being reduced from 50 to 40%, but honestly, you don't really notice it.
You don't really notice it. Yeah, it's very difficult to hit Moira while she's popping Coalescence. And so I could see them doing something like, we want to make it so Moira's easier to hit while simultaneously we give her a shift during ultimate, so that way she's not basically impossible while popping ults, right? To hit while popping her ultimate.
The devs...
But I don't know what the purpose... Honestly, you know what this does give me flashbacks to, chat? Do you guys remember... This is an older patch. Do you remember the very old Moira patch? I think it was on PTR about 4 years ago, where it was Moira can now shift out of CC. Like if you got stunned as a Moira, you could shift and break out of the CC. It reminds me of that a little bit. Yeah, that was awful. Yeah, so like imagine if you slept a Moira, the Moira while sleeping could push shift and walk away. There was stuff like that that could happen. It was broken. Yeah. And so this reminds me of that a little bit. The same idea of, you know, hey, there's this risk you have of, you know, you want to go play DPS Moira in the enemy backline and go play backline Coalescence. You could die during it. You have to play a little bit smart. But now with Fade, you could just, you know, shift out of anything. It feels kind of weird.
Comment that being able to use Fade during her Coalescence ultimate gives Moira more playmaking ability by being able to reposition even more quickly and avoid potential threats with quick reactions. Due to the more spread out playstyle of 5v5, we're increasing the lingering heal duration from her primary fire, meaning it will heal more in total.
Okay, wait. Being able to reposition even more quickly? Wait, so that...
Increasing the...
Okay, wait. I need to look at their exact wording here, and it's hard because of the YouTube videos. During gives Moira more playmaking ability
quickly and avoid potential threats with quick reaction.
So they just want Moira to be the DPS Moira, in other words, right? She also has insane self-heal. Why does she need Fade on top of it? They want DPS Moiras in Ultimate, and they want you specifically to have more playmaking ability by doing things like I can go straight to the enemy backline and I can pop Coalescence. And even if like there's a random Rhine and they earth shatter me or something, I can just shift that and run away. So in other words, you can now get even more aggressive.
Actions. Due to the more spread out playstyle of 5.
Misinterpret the dev word speedrun. Is that really misinterpreting? It says specifically. I'm going to the actual patch notes. It says specifically. Being able to use Fade during her Coalescence ultimate gives Moira more playmaking ability by being able to reposition even more quickly and avoid potential threats with quick reactions. They want you to shift out of stuff. That's the point. They want you to go flank the enemy backline and they want you to shift out of potentially dying. Due to the more spread out playstyle 5v5, we're increasing the lingering heal duration for primary fire, meaning it will heal more in total. So they buff her heals a little bit and then they buff her Coalescence backline ability. That's it. I don't know if that's... I mean, at the same time, I guess Moira, you could argue, did need a little bit of a buff compared to some of the other supports this season, right? And I think it is actually kind of funny because in the past, I myself have said, hey, I think Moira is supposed to be the Zug healer, right? The Zug support. You do a ton of damage and a ton of healing, and that's what you do. And so I kind of wonder if they looked at how people play Moira in the Moira player base, and they said, guys, Moira needs a little bit of a buff. They already do backline Moira DPS. Why not just give her Fade during her Coalescence so that way they can go even more aggro and buff their existing playstyle, especially in the context of Moira's old change. If you guys remember when they did the Enfeebling Orb, all the Moira players complained that it made Moira too boring because you no longer had any decisions to make. It was always, you know, you could never effectively kill anyone. And Enfeebling Orb was really boring because you're just kind of waiting to turn an enemy character off. But it was very against the Moira playstyle, right? Of I'm supposed to be the aggressive, super damage support. Now it's well, hey, we got to buff Moira. Let's follow in her line, like in her theme of being that super aggro support. So
lingering
not
heal
surprising
duration from her primary fire, meaning it will heal more in total. Be careful of these TikTok Moiras is all I gotta say. She's actually pretty solid.
TikTok Mars, yeah, Kirk, has the right idea. And also, when they talk about playmaking ability, by the way, the other big one, and this is probably the more common use of a Moira fade if you have Coalescence, I bet, chat, isn't just the backline Moira, but rather the backline Moira who can fade onto high ground. Right? Because it's a lot of...
And that's it for the
also TikTok Morris. Yeah, I see it.
balance changes. Lifeweaver is
It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot.
New support hero being added to the roster. I have a full separate video breaking down his abilities, so I won't go over it here. I'll link it on the end screen and have it pop up on the top right now. One more quick thing is that all the maps are back into the rotation. They're removing the idea of map pools, so Gibraltar is returning, Hollywood is back, and it also has a nighttime shader. That's pretty cool. And New Queen Street also has dawn lighting. It's early in the morning in Toronto. Literally, it's actually 8 a.m. right now, and I'm recording this in the morning, and I'm from Toronto, and I'm gonna go to bed. Take care. Hope you enjoyed this overview.
He's going to bed at 8 a.m. Classic CarQ. Classic.
Hey everyone, it's CarQ here.
I love you, CarQ. Keep doing your thing. Giga Chad USA, I think, for 3 months. Nalt, 78 months. Thank you. DGen sleep schedule. Bro, he is always on the DGen sleep schedule before a patch, I think. Because he puts out these videos, and I think he's got to edit and put it all together. Get all the footage before and after and everything. He puts that up, drops it out, and hey, I mean, it works out. This has 1 million views. Holy fuck, let's go, CarQ. His videos are amazing. He played 22 games of Overwatch with me, did pugs, and then did this video. Holy crap, that's awesome. That's sick. Good for him. Giga Chad? Yeah, dude, he's just a gamer. That's awesome. God damn. 34 on trending? Yeah, this is 34 on trending, chat, 2 days after it was posted, which means it was way higher probably 2 days ago or a day ago, right? Good for him. But yeah, overall, I would say Overwatch is in a pretty unique place right now, chat, because I think the balance right now is pretty good. And so they're nerfing Ryan, nerfing Sigma, nerfing the crap out of Ashe and Cass. And then they're doing a big buff to Brigitte, decent buff to Moira. I don't know where the patch is going to end up. It's going to be very strange. So you guys know my thoughts now after I did this. I don't think Brigitte will be crazy insane in her ultimate as much as people think she will, because she only gets a couple bashes. But I think Brigitte herself will probably be stupid powerful because she was already really good this season. And then now they're buffing her ultimate next season, which was probably the weakest part of her kit. I do like the theme. I hope that I like the... How do I put this? I'm someone who values the idea of something more than I value the current meta or numbers, because they can tweak the meta and they can tweak the numbers later. I like the playstyle more. I think that's cool. My only problem is I don't think it should have an AoE stun. That's it.